All right, thank you so much for staying with us. Time for To The Point. But before we get there, okay, let's take you to Wajir County. We are following the governor of Wajir, that is Ahmed Abdullahi's announcement of contractors remaining debt reduced to 1 billion shillings in Wajir. Contractors held a press conference today, urging both the county government of Wajir and the national government to address their grievances concerning the infringement of their rights. Furthermore, the business community issued a stern warning to Governor Ahmed Abdullahi, expressing concern that unresolved contracts are exacerbating the economic challenges in Wajir County. They also advised fellow businessmen across various sectors in the county to cease business operations and close shop in protest if the governor fails to address their concerns.
Mimi naitwa Abdi Farah, ni mmoja wa watu ya business ya Wajir. Na aliniongea mara mingi kutoka hii mambo ya bed and bill juu ya Wajir. Sana bed and bill ile wakati ya ukame, na ile ya majengo, na ile ya dams, na ile hospitali, na ile shule ya maclasses. Sana ECD. Bed and bill ya Wajir, governor sahi amesema ni 1,600 peke yake. Ni 1.6 billion na 1 billion ya KRA na NHF.
2019 ilikuwa na bayana maji sehemu za Boji, Wajir South Boji, mahali naitwa Gore Haris, Guledera, line kama hiyo Abakdere, nilikuwa napeleka maji area hiyo. Hiyo pesa ambayo nilifanya kazi mwezi 2 sijapata hata shilingi, sababu nimekopa mafuta, nilikuwa na bayana driver, nilikuwa na bayana spare part kutengeneza gari. Hiyo madeni yote ya mafuta tunadaiwa karibu mwaka 3 na kitu ama mwaka 4 na kitu.
Santa hiyo yote. Sasa ile kitabu ile ya auditor ilikuwa anasema governor imetoka, sisi haturidhika naye, kwa maana yeye alisema ile sasa mimi nadai miezi 2. Ile miezi 2 yeye anasema moja wewe umeshukua vile wameandika kwa kitabu, ingine anasema hatuwezi kuhakikisha. Kama ni kuhakikisha sasa hawa ndio nuhusika mambo ya kuhakikisha, kama hawajaridhika hawa ndio nuhusika.
All right, time now for this To The Point, okay? And on To The Point tonight, we talk HIV and AIDS. Of course, this is on the back of the World AIDS Day, which was commemorated on Friday, December the 1st. Now, this annual event serves as a reminder of the global struggle to end HIV-related stigma, an opportunity to honor those we have lost, and a rallying cry to commit to working towards a day when HIV is no longer a public health threat. Let's take a pause there, Simon, because I want to engage my guests who are already with me in studio, like you know. Bernard Mololo, alias Bena Softy, yes. And Violet Mukabana, who are both HIV activists. We've decided to switch you guys to let you sit together. Cindy, you're okay with that? Yeah? Yes. Dr. Peter Cherotich, who is an HIV researcher. I must mention that he's also a former head of the National AIDS and STIs Control Program. And in 2018, he did lead the National Household HIV Survey, known as the Kenya Population-Based HIV Impact Assessment. Karibu sana, Doc.
Thank you.
And we also have Gladys Njoroge, who is the National Youth League Chairperson at the Democratic Congress. Karibu sana, Gladys. Okay. Now, I want to engage you on this, on that point of working towards a day when HIV is no longer a public health threat. And Doc, I want to start with you. Is this achievable?
Thank you, Grace. It's absolutely achievable. And we have seen over the last 2 decades the tremendous progress we've made as a global community, even as Kenya, in terms of making our people more aware about HIV. We have seen a lot of benefits of our investments in reducing the number of people who are living with HIV, even the rates of new infections. And so we are confident that as we move towards our aspiration of 2030, we should be able to do that. And the reason I'm confident is that we have reached a point, it's actually a tipping point, where majority of our people, majority of our people know about HIV. Majority of our people have tested for HIV, and a huge proportion of those who are HIV infected are on HIV treatment. And of those that are on HIV treatment, majority are actually having their viruses suppressed. And there's something that we call U equals U, that is undetectable equals untransmittable. So we have a huge population of people who have the ability, who have the means, who have the resources to protect themselves and to protect others against HIV. And I think that is probably one of the biggest successes we have had in the last decade. So I think the only thing is we need to sustain the trajectory. If we do, we should be able to have, that aspiration achieved.
How do we sustain it?
Oh yes, so one of the best things we can do is we make sure that we maintain our global solidarity. As a global community, HIV has been something that we work together. We have, major donors, the US in particular, the Global Fund. We have communities, we have the youth, we have our public leaders. So we just need to make sure that we continue maintaining those investments that we've made, whether from funding agencies or from our community resources, so that we remain focused towards that goal.
Right.
Yes, that is a thing.
Right. Violet, do you agree we'll get to a point where HIV is no longer a public health threat?
Yeah, of course I agree. Mm-hmm. But right now it's very hard because there is a lot of people who have really refused to learn. They don't want to get the facts. Like when you are HIV positive and you are on medications, you can really live a healthy, and of course when you are on ARVs, you are undetectable, so you cannot transmit the virus. So people are not ready to learn. But if they will maybe accept to learn and accept the fact that when you are on medications and you can, when you are on medications and undetectable, you can really live and you can live a healthy life and you cannot transmit the virus, then we'll really go far. Yeah, and stigma will get reduced.
Bena?
The biggest threat on HIV is stigma. Stigma, because currently the stigma is silent, but it's huge. A lot of people who take ARVs, they don't talk, they keep quiet because they don't know the response from the community. So for me, yes, we can reach that point, but if we fight the silent stigma, where you find a lot of people, they know there's HIV, but they don't want to go to details about it. Like if you tell somebody, like the doctor said, that undetectable is equal to untransmittable, they don't believe, because maybe they are not scientists or they are not, they just that fear, And then another fear is people going to get tested. A lot of people, they are afraid to be seen walking to a VCT center to get tested. And that is a big problem. But if we finish the silent stigma, then we will be okay.
Okay.
Yes.
And you have brought up so many points. I'm actually just writing them down so that I don't miss any. I want to engage you, Gladys, on this, and then I'll come back to the two of you, because that bit on stigma, I want us to go deeper into it. It was actually part of my notes, uko chini, lakini since you've brought it up, tutaiongelea, sindio? Lakini Gladys, go first on your reaction to this. What you think about it?
First, I would like to commend all stakeholders for the progress that has been evident. As the doc has said, we only need to maintain the trajectory. Some of the strategies we can use in this, maybe we can come up with campaigns, anti-victimization campaigns, anti-stigmatization campaigns, and also we can engage our peers and our teenagers on issues sexual orientation, because that is something that has come out in a big way, where people are not engaged in an early age, so they end up learning from other people who might end up misleading them on matters sex, and also on matters sexual protection, the use of condoms and such. Yeah, so I think I agree with the doc. We only need to maintain the trajectory.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sasa Bena na Vayo, nyinyi maselebe uko TikTok nindo mnasema nindo kusema uko. But I know a lot of people know your story, yeah? But I want you, just in case there's someone who's watching us right now and doesn't understand why you're here tonight, before tufikie hapo kwa stigma, tuambieni story yenu in relation to our topic today, which is HIV and AIDS. Who wants to go first? Kati ya nyinyi wawili?
Our story, like how we got infected.
Yes.
Okay, my name is Violet Mukabana. I'm 26 years old. I wasn't born with HIV. I was infected 6 years ago by somebody I loved. So yeah, and I came out after 1 year of realizing that I was positive. Yeah, so I am talking about my status. I am using my lived experience with HIV to give hope to people who are living with it, and yeah.
Bena?
Yeah, for me, I'm known in the social media world as Bena Softy, but my real names are Bernard Mololo Kitela.
Sure.
I was born HIV positive. I am 36 years, having a very long life experience with HIV, and I decided to come public because I was stigmatized by my first girlfriend. And when I was young, when I was growing up, I grew up in a children's home, so there was no stigma because the people around there, they really understood about HIV. But outside the world, I found out that people don't understand just living with HIV and all that. So when I faced that stigma, I felt it. I really cried, and then I work in a program that deals with children living with HIV, and I see when the mothers come there, the fathers, the shoshos come there, and you can feel like there's a lot of issue about stigma. And then I was like, I should talk this public because I'm here, I'm working, I have gone to school, I have finished, and still people believe that HIV kills. That's not correct.
It doesn't.
Yeah, so I had to come out and speak and tell people, come on, I'm here, I'm working. I was in primary, high school, college, and I sit in a meeting and discuss things, and I'm listened to, despite me being HIV positive. So that motivated me to come out. Yes.
And I want us to talk, I'll come to you, Doc and Gladys, don't worry, okay? Yes. I want us to talk acceptance, because I know you learned of your status when you were 6 years old, am I correct?
I was 12 years.
12 years old,
yes.
Okay, that's double that.
Yeah.
So how did you come to accept that this is your status and that this is something that you will carry for the rest of your days? And you were a child, Violet.
Sometimes Violet here tells me that, Bena, it is different for you because you are born with it than me who I found out where I was infected. And that is true because for me it was easy to accept myself because I was young, I just found myself, I was started on ARVs, and that time the guidelines were saying when the child should be disclosed at 12 years, So when you are a child, it's very easy to accept yourself. And then when you have people around you who support you, it doesn't sink so much like when you are an adult. So for me, when I was a child, I started taking the ARVs, I reached 12 years, and then the counselors there at the home tried to talk to me, explain to me, then they just came. So for me, when I looked around, the people who I was living with, the children, I saw some of them were taking the ARVs, so it was so easy. So I never had a problem about accepting myself until when now I say that story of my first girlfriend who was HIV negative. Then there is when I felt, oh my goodness, this is the burden of being HIV positive. And
What did that do to you?
somehow I felt like blaming my parents, and I was like, sasa kati yao ni nani alienda kuplay mwingine, you know? But you know, they are long dead. I remember one time, I asked my uncle to tell me how I became positive. I was just joking with him. I wanted to hear what he will say. And he told me, the people who can answer you, they're there. We have already buried as we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know who brought it to the other. They're the only people. So I had just to accept it. It was hard, but I just accepted it. And the fact that sometimes I think, let me not say that statement. Okay, yeah, so that is my...
Okay, I wish I have said it, but I respect that. I respect that. Thank you, Bena.
Yeah.
How about for you, Val? Because Bena ametuguzia kidogo on what you tell him regarding his status. But for you, what did it take to accept and even come out and be here tonight and talk about it?
Okay. So for his case, it's very different, like he has said. For me, I was born negative, like I've said, and I really feared HIV very much because we used to learn, we used to scare everywhere, HIV kills. So I used to fear HIV so much, and I used to take care of myself, and all of a sudden...
By taking care of yourself, what do you mean?
Yeah, I used to take care of myself. I used to be very much cautious. Like I didn't want to have this HIV thing. So all of a sudden, I am infected. So I was very mad, and I was very much disappointed. It was very hard for me to accept myself and to accept the fact that I'm HIV positive. But I really tried. It took me 1 year for me to accept it. Yeah.
And here you are.
And here I am.
Right. Doc, there's something Bena mentioned a while back about people being afraid of getting tested. There's another thing that I would add, the fear of finding out that you're positive. And again, he did say that, you know, long gone is the notion of HIV kills. I mean, kitambo, it was like a death sentence. When you test positive, that's it, yeah? But that has since changed over time, according to me. But there's still that fear of getting tested. There's that fear of being seen walking into a visitor center, like he was saying, and the fear of testing positive.
Oh, sure, that is. But I think first, even before I respond, I'd just like to appreciate Bena and Violet. These are amazing stories.
Yes, they are.
Stories we'd like to hear more and more. And stories that give us hope that despite the struggles, despite the challenges, despite everything, I think we are raising up a generation that will eventually be free of HIV. So yes, indeed, people are afraid to test, and particularly men. Yeah, men, I think, have a big challenge, and not just testing, but men just have problems, even just going to the hospital, even when they have, you know, a flu or something. Yeah, so I think we need to work with our communities to really encourage men to go test. And yes, we have come a long way, but I totally agree. Even despite the fact that we have taught people that, you know, HIV is not a death sentence, yes, there's still a lot of hesitancy to go and test. And so what we are encouraging now is that we're providing, you know, for people who do not want to go to a VCT center, we have options of people testing themselves.
That's
so we have
true.
self-testing.
That's true. Glad you brought that up.
For HIV. And so, and the uptake has been very good. So you can anonymously go and, you know, to a chemist now, just buy a test and sort of just test yourself. What we are discouraging, of course, is that, you know, men in particularly going to buy, you know, kits and forcing maybe their girlfriends or their spouses to test. That is not our desire, but the desire is to make sure that people in the privacy of their homes and their offices can be able to test for HIV. We do hope that will solve part of the problem, but stigma is an ongoing struggle we have to deal with. We've started from very far, we still have a long way to go.
All right. Yeah. Gladys, how do we encourage more young people in particular? And I'm asking this because I know you encounter or you deal with them a lot. How do we encourage them to go for these tests? Because, you know, Gladys, nowadays, most, especially teenagers, fear pregnancy more than HIV. How do we encourage them to test?
Let me say we can maybe organize programs from the lowest levels of primary schools, junior secondary schools, even in our university institutions or the tertiary institution, coming up with programs to educate them on the need to know their status and why they should really know their status. Such programs maybe can be also taken to the communities as the theme of this year, taking communities lead.
Yeah.
We can also take them to the communities through maybe attending chiefs barazas or maybe engaging our mothers and young women in their chamas, in their local setups, and telling them the need of why they should know their status. Yes.
You've taken me back to those primary school days when tulikuwa tunaletewa videos za, people with HIV and, why we should take care of ourselves and all that. Did you people experience that? Amani mimi? Okay, let's move on. Let's move on now, and let me take you through some history. So the first World AIDS Day commemoration took place in 1988, providing a platform to raise awareness about HIV and AIDS and honor the lives affected by the epidemic. Now, this year marks the 35th commemoration of this important day. Over the past 35 years, there has been significant progress in addressing HIV and AIDS, thanks to advancement in medical research, increased access to treatment and prevention, and a broader understanding of the virus. That's by HIV.government or GOtv. So every World AIDS Day is observed with a new theme every year. And in 2023, like Gladys just said, the theme is this: let communities lead. Now, this year, the World Health Organization highlighted that communities living with and affected by HIV and youth leaders have been essential for the progress in the HIV response. And on the back of that, there is a Let Communities Lead report 2023 by the United Nations Program on HIV and AIDS, UNAIDS, and it, among other things, details that around 9.2 million people living with HIV do not have access to life-saving antiretroviral therapy. 1,700 people die each day from HIV-related causes. Another 3,500 are infected, many who don't know their status or have no access to treatment every minute. I believe that is on the next slide. Yeah, a life is lost to AIDS. We can end AIDS. This is actually a quote from the UNAIDS. We can end AIDS as a public threat by 2030 by unleashing the full potential of community leadership. I wanted to engage Doc first, but I saw you nod, Bena, when we read out these statistics. Around the world, 9.2 million people living with HIV do not have access to life-saving ARVs. And previously, we were talking about how important this is.
I think it's because maybe the information should go down to the way they are saying, to the community leadership. When you empower the leadership in the community, example here in Kenya, like the chiefs, the Nyumba Kumi leaders, then they are able, so when they get that information, they can share it with the other leaders until it reaches that point down there. That is a problem. But another issue I always have with HIV issues is that most of the people who make policies about HIV, they are seated in their offices and they imagine. I remember one time where I worked, a certain donor sent a representative to come there. And these representatives, they are in the, actually, I think it was USAID or UNAID. They don't even know that a child turns negative, like a child can be exposed and by the time they reach 2 years, they are negative. Yet these are the people who are giving us the funding to manage HIV. So you find some of these people who sit in those offices, they don't know anything. If you tell them, you tell a director of an organization that which funds an African program which deals with HIV, that somebody who is undetectable cannot transmit HIV, doesn't understand that. When you tell a chief, when you tell a member of parliament that somebody who is, and the doc here will understand, because he's a doctor. Bio here will understand. Violet will understand. Because,
Bernard, ni jina ulikuwa umesahau?
hapana sijasahau.
Ama amekukonfuse.
Kuna jina
hata kumwangalia.
Kuna jina nimezoea kumuita. And we are in a public
Okay, tumeelewa.
Yeah. So, karibu nimuite babe. Sasa
sawa, si ni babe wako.
Okay.
Ni sawa.
So, they understand because they are in that environment. But you know, if we empower the leaders in our society, then we will be able to reach that by 2030. But as now, if we don't empower those leaders, then this is just a dream that will never come true. That is the reality. And if we don't fight the HIV stigma, the silent one, then it's this one, maybe 2050. Yeah.
Maybe 2050.
Yes. You know, they love numbers. Yeah, the people in the offices, in the union.
Hey, lakini sio mimi.
No, hao watu wakubwa hao.
Yeah.
Sijui kama wananiangalia kamera gani. Stop loving numbers, go to the field. Thank you.
I wanted to engage, Doc, but my director, Mr. Inonda, tells me we're due for a break. Let's take that break. Stay with us. We come back with more. Right, thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with the conversation we've been having tonight with Bernard Mololo, alias Benasofty, and Violet Mukabana, who are both HIV activists, Dr. Peter Cherotich, an HIV researcher, and Gladys Njoroge, the National Youth League chairperson, Democratic Congress. Doc, I intended to come back with you. Yeah, that's the correct English. Because Bernard, before we took the break, was saying that our watu wako kwa ofisi, with just numbers and well-written English scripts and all that, and we are ready on December the 1st to say this is what we're going to do. But kwa ground vitu ni different. Is it time to go kwa ground and see what is actually happening?
Yes, that's true, and I must confess I'm one of those people who yeah, and generating those numbers and in the office. But on the brighter side of things, I think if you look at the history of HIV, it's been powered by activists. We would not have been where we are if we just depended on people who are sitting in offices. So globally, you know, the global community of people living with HIV, the national networks here, really did a lot to, put pressure on governments and donors to make sure that treatment is available, testing is available. And I salute people like Assunta Wagura, Muriuki, yeah, and many others. Salute, Lutaya Bongole and other people also in the global space. I am very sure, and I can say this because I've been in this journey for a long time, that if there weren't people to put pressure on, governments and donors and other agencies, we wouldn't be where we are. People were very passionate about making sure that everybody accessed treatment. We were a little bit slow in making sure that everybody accessed testing, but we knew for sure that we needed to have 100% access to treatment. And that was purely because of activism. South Africa, I think, was the most vibrant, and we need to learn a lot of lessons. So, but I think we're losing it because I think there's also a whole generation who may not have understood the passion with which activism was conducted. So I would like the Assunta Waguras of this world to mentor young people, young activists, so that they can be able to take up the mantle, because the battle is not yet over. No, we're doing well, yes, but if we sort of slackened a little bit, we might go back to those old days.
Right. Gladys, how do we unleash the full potential of community leadership? Like we're saying, let communities lead. Because I have a problem with, not this country, with us as a globe. I mean, so easy we're talking about AIDS because it was December 1st and it's World AIDS Day. We're observing the 16 days of activism against GBV. So we're talking about GBV everywhere. And then after that, we forget. We had Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October. We talked about breast cancer. We've probably forgotten it now. So how do we unleash this full potential to sort of like achieve what Doc here is saying?
As I had said earlier, we can engage the grassroots leadership, maybe the chiefs, sub-chiefs, as Bena had said, the Nyumba Kumi, or even peer groups. Maybe in school we can organize for maybe an AIDS peer group where peers can teach amongst themselves. And also we can come up, we can also work with the government entities or even the NGOs who are really into coming up with solutions for the HIV and AIDS. Such programs maybe can run in mashinani, in schools, and even in churches. We can also use the churches to campaign for maybe abstinence. Even schools, we can use schools to campaign for the same, and coming up with clubs in schools. Yeah.
And now that you've brought up abstinence, is it still a thing?
The current youth, maybe to say, abstinence at this point is not really a solution because the current youth... bad. Yeah, the current youth is very exposed due to technologies, the social media, and such. So you find that a young girl, maybe at around the age of 10, or a young boy, already knows about sexual, has already been oriented into sexual behaviors.
That's true.
So if abstinence ikikata, tuwafunze kujiprotect.
Yeah. Yeah. Sindio? Bena?
Yes.
Nakuuliza juu nimeona reaction yako. Nimekuuliza hiyo swali. What happened to those things? Kulikuwa na ABC? Yeah?
Yes, yeah. Abstain? Yes, abstain. Yeah, and be faithful and then condom, yes.
Condom, yeah. Hiyo haiko tena.
Nowadays, we cannot, like, it's next to impossible. Like, what we have to do is just to teach them to use protections. Yeah, because you cannot tell them to abstain. They will not.
Although I beg to differ, I think we still have a window of opportunity. The only thing is that we've lost our traditional structures for doing that, for engaging our young people and our girls and our boys to do that. We need the voice of the church a little bit stronger. Personally, I feel I could be old school, but I feel there's still something that can be done. Yes. Yeah, there's hope.
Yeah, there is hope.
You know, I'm just laughing because with the social media world, I know he's a doctor. Sometimes somebody will come to a clinic, let's say an example, and the doctor is there seated, and somebody tells you the sickness they have, and then you as a doctor, you have an information about it. But before you tell them, they already know because they are Googling here down, That is the biggest problem, that the Western world has taken the African culture of even parental. And then the issue of that the parents are not available for their children. A lot of parents, wanakwambia kazi ni kutafuta pesa, and they forget the small issues of guiding their children and just giving them information, And then these young people don't want to be talked to because they feel they know it all, because they have internet and all that. So it's really I like this situation, but if the leaders and the parents and the church come into focus and know that we are losing a generation, then they can fight this whole thing.
Most definitely. Yeah. Okay. Anybody has anything to say regarding that?
Yeah, maybe I can applaud the government for coming up with programs such as the community health promoters, which was launched recently. Such programs maybe are meant to go deep to the villages. Maybe I can give an example from where I come from. There's a very deep village called Karunge village in Getuge Madhya constituency, and I understand Mheshimiwa Kimari is watching from Karunge.
Oh, nice.
So such programs that are meant to go deep to the villages and to spread all in the villages, I think I can applaud the government for that. Yeah.
All right. Allow us to move on because we still have so many slides and take a look at the numbers now. And according to UNAIDS, an average 39 million people globally were living with HIV in 2022. 1.3 million people became newly infected with HIV in 2022. 630,000 people died from AIDS-related illnesses in 2022, and 29.8 million people were accessing ARVs in 2022. And by the way, I thought we were going to have this on some other slide, but since we have it here, Vio, how or what does taking ARVs faithfully mean?
Taking ARVs faithfully means the ARVs that you're taking will suppress your viruses in your body. Hence, it will help you not to transmit the viruses. So that is what means by taking ARVs faithfully.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Let's carry on. 85.6 million people have become infected with HIV since the start of the epidemic. 40.4 million people have died from AIDS-related illnesses since the start of the epidemic. Now, this is according to the UNAIDS. Now, in regards to women and girls, it is wanting, I must say, because UNAIDS indicates that globally 46% of all new infections, HIV infections, were among women and girls in 2022. In sub-Saharan Africa, adolescent girls and young women aged 15 to 24, 15, this is a teenager, this is a child, accounted for 77% of new infections among the young people in 2022. This is according to UNAIDS, Bena.
Yeah, I just, I wanted that slide because the reason why you don't see a huge number of men, it is because they don't go for testing.
Precisely what Doc here
This number is because of women like going to hospitals because of so many complications. But this number, it is because men don't go to hospitals, but they are infected.
So they are infecting our girls.
Exactly, because where are those girls getting the virus?
From the men.
From the men.
Yeah. So this does not mean that most infections are in women and girls.
No.
Doc?
I think, there are two things here. There is, it's true that men are not coming out to test, but I think we've known from a very long time that women have some vulnerabilities that are only unique to them. you know, the rates of poverty and, you know, the fact that they have to do some things to earn a living, like going out to the streets to do sex work and all that, just because they are not empowered enough. So those are things that put them at risk of HIV. And I think that is something that we have known. But it's true that, yeah, men need to go and get tested. Yes.
Bernard disagrees.
That's why I was saying, story ya kwenda kwa ground. You know, where Violet asked a very good question, where do these women get HIV? From men. And that is the reality. You know, as men, we are in a denial world. But I can tell you, a lot of men have, you know why we are saying this? We receive a lot of calls from when we came public. And most of these ladies will complain a certain man. Can we encourage the men to go get tested? And you'll see that number increase. That one I can promise you, it will increase.
And take it to the bank. Gladys, as a woman, we've had, you know, from Bernard, from Vio, from Doc, but still these statistics, 77% among, you know, young women accounting for this. As a woman, as a person who interacts with the youth on almost a daily basis, what do you make of this?
Of the age or?
Of the age, of course, this being shocking, 15, that's a child, and the new infections, the rate.
About the age, maybe the infections in a tender age, I can go back to sexual orientation, where these young girls don't have the right orientation. You find they just go out and they get orientated like in the wrong direction, where they are not even taught issues with protection or such, or even issues with pregnancies, or even the general issues. I agree with Doc. There are some societal crises, maybe things like poverty. You find young girls, the aspect of vulnerability, that is real, especially in the poverty-stricken area, if I may call them so, where girls struggle even to get the sanitary towels. So you see they end up coming up with solutions for themselves, which may include going out and engaging in sexual behaviors, and which can also lead to the new infections. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And Edwin Kimari from Mombasa says he's watching. Shout out to you, Edwin. Thanks for watching. Okay. Let's carry on with these numbers from UNAIDS. And every week, 4,000 adolescent girls and young women become infected with HIV globally in 2022. 3,100 of these infections occurred in the sub-Saharan Africa. So let's now come here and take a look at the numbers here at home in Kenya. Now, 1.4 million people living with HIV. This is as of 2023. 96% of that population are on treatment. That's great news. Yeah? 18,473 AIDS-related deaths in 2022. This is the situation in Kenya, according to the Ministry of Health. How about the children? And this is very significant. I'll tell you why soon, so stay with us. But as 7,869 children aged 0 to 4 years are currently living with HIV. There were 22,154 new HIV infections in 2022. Of these, 4,474 were children aged 0 to 14 years, 12,558 women, and 5,122 men. They should get tested more, Bena would say, and Vio. So no, that's according to the NSDCC. Some quick look at some more numbers here from the country. The numbers of HIV infections across some parts of Kenya. Kisumu tops the list with the highest number of people living with HIV, with a population of 128,091. Nairobi is second, 124,609. Homa Bay, 120,600. Siaya, 96,297. Migori County, 76,053. Nakuru, 57,635. And Mombasa, 50,656. Kakamega County, 48,733. Kiambu, 45,917. And Kisii, 42,210. Doc, there's something about these counties from the lakeside. Yeah? Kisumu tops the list. We have Homa Bay, we have Siaya, we have Migori. Why? Is there something peculiar about these lakeside counters?
Yes, Grace. I think two things. One is it's historical. As we would probably know, HIV sort of came to Kenya through the western side, from Congo through Uganda and into the western part of this country. And we agonized about that for a very long time, why the numbers are very high in the Lake region. But since we've come to learn that, unfortunately, the time that HIV entered Kenya through the western side of the country, there were a large population of men who were not circumcised. And through time and research, we actually learned that lack of circumcision was the largest, biggest risk to people getting HIV, and that's why we started programs on male circumcision. Of course, there have been other issues like poverty and the concept of fish for sex, which I think still continues up to today. But the good story that also needs to be told is that we see those numbers because people are on treatment and people are leaving. And so we are not about to see those numbers go down soon because people are not dying, people are living their full life. And so every time we go out there and do a survey, we find that there are so many people living with HIV. Not that there are like new infections happening, but that's just that people are on ARVs and they are living and they are alive. So sometimes it's not really a bad thing to say that we have so many numbers. As long as we know where the story came from, where we came from,
where we are,
we need to keep these 120,000 people alive.
That's right.
Yes, and even next year when we do that, if we see it coming down, we should be worried and say, okay, fine. Is it that we are losing people because people are not on treatment or people are dying? And so I think that needs to be understood. That given her history, sort of a prevalence that also is a bit high is fairly acceptable and understood. Yes.
And there's actually some good news that's coming up later on because we saw an overall decrease in new infections this year. This year, Stahumicha did announce that, but we'll get to that. So, Bernard, there's some people who are asking about the two of you and Vio. And because we don't have too much time, I bet we have about 10 minutes left. We have heard about your stories in terms of like how you got to learn of your diagnosis on HIV, but ni bebo wako, sindio? You're a couple. You actually proposed to her twice. Hey.
Hata hiyo mnajua.
Lazima tujue. Hebu tuambie kidogo before we carry on.
What am I supposed to say?
Kwa nini you proposed twice? See, usually inakwanga two once.
I think it's just because she's a good girl.
And, that's why you
wanted to make sure.
Exactly. And also to make sure that she loves me. And yes, I think I'm gonna ring.
Si uringe kidogo, Vio.
So it's actually we met on a TikTok app, and we just connected and and our relationship I think right now is one year 1 month.
Wow.
And we have been dating for that long, just trying to learn each other. But yes, in future we will.
Oh,
is it in future? ASAP. Yeah.
Okay, we'll hear the wedding bells.
Yes.
Yeah. Vio, what do other people make of your relationship with Bena here? Because clearly, nyinyi wawili mko sawa, yeah? But other people in terms of your family on social media, are they family, really? But your fans on social media, your family, your friends, what do they make of the two of you?
What do they make? Or
Think.
What do they think about your relationship?
Oh, they are not even believing. They are asking us, like, how do you do it? Do you have unprotected
yes, intercourse.
Intercourse. Yes. They are just wondering how is it possible to live together while you are HIV positive, and they're wondering if you can get kids. A lot of questions are coming up from our fans, but we'll just have to make them understand all these things. Yeah.
And how do you make them understand?
By explaining to them, by telling them.
So you answer those raw questions?
Yeah, we do answer them. We make them understand that people living with HIV can have normal lifestyle, can have, like, they can just live normal life like any other person who is HIV negative. Yeah.
Right. And Bena, you did say that your child is negative.
Yes.
So it is possible.
When a child, it's called exposed. When a child is born, there's a drug they are given, 2 drugs. It's called zidovudine and nevirapine. They start those medication because they are exposed. You know, HIV, you can get it through breastfeeding or now the intercourse now. But when it comes to breastfeeding, there are those drugs, maybe the doc can explain it more, so which the baby is given, and they make sure the child is breastfeeding well. So it is very possible to have a HIV negative baby when actually you are HIV positive.
Right.
Yes, and that's why you see the number of new infection when it comes to children has really decreased than when it comes to young people, you know? Yeah.
Okay. Doc, take us through that in a minute. You have a minute, okay?
Yeah.
And also how you live as a discordant
couple, yes.
Discordant.
There's an N.
No.
There's no N.
No.
Yes, I knew it. Discordant couple.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think first when I hear them talk, I think it gives me a lot of pleasure. I'll sleep well tonight because I've spent my entire professional life just trying to make sure that treatment is available, people get tested, children get tested, and you know, people can be able to live their lives and have babies and all that. So this is I think good. So yes, it's possible, as they have said. First, that regardless of if you're HIV, okay, it depends on the circumstances. So you have a situation where the man is HIV infected and the woman is negative. So the strategy there is to make sure that the man is on treatment and they are virally suppressed. And then they would have to, of course, make sure that they time if they want to have a baby, make sure they time so that they maximize the time that they need to have a baby. It's okay to have unprotected sex to have a baby, as long as you're suppressed. If it is the woman who is HIV infected and the man is not infected, it's the same strategy. The goal is actually to make sure that any one of them is on treatment and virally suppressed. Of course, additionally, the negative partner can also take something called pre-exposure prophylaxis, PrEP, to support them during that process. Yeah, so it's a dual, and the results are excellent. There are testimony to that. And we'd like to hear more stories like that. It is possible.
Right.
Yes.
And you know, we actually have PrEP here. We'll get to that slide. You want to say something, Bena?
Yeah, that PrEP, it is very important, people, especially people who are HIV negative, to know about PrEP and PEP. Yes, because those two is, you know, there are people who don't like condoms. So they can opt for PrEP and they need to learn about it.
PrEP is
Pre-exposure.
That is before, and PEP is after.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. So let's carry on with my numbers here and to some good news. What we were just saying, there's been an overall decrease in new infections from 34,540 in 2021 to 22,154 in 2022. Now, people living with HIV but on medication have gone up from 656,359 in 2013 to 1,294,299 in 2023, while AIDS-related deaths are at 18,473. Listen, so the AIDS-related deaths are at 18,473. In 2023, we have seen a decrease. Yes, that's the word. A decrease of 3,900 from 22,000. I feel like I've mixed you up. Skiza. This is the thing. In short, sawa. In 2013, zilikuwa 22,373. So we have a decrease of 3,900 to 18,473 in 2023. Ni sawa, that's clear, okay? This is according to NDCSC. NDSCC, yeah? Okay. So, remember when we looked at the numbers of children and I told you it was significant. Here's why. There's a plan because Kenya has launched the Kenya Plan to End AIDS in Children by 2027. The four-pronged strategy will target eliminating AIDS in children in the next 4 years, including ending mother-to-child transmission of HIV, syphilis, and hepatitis. Kenya joins 12 other African countries in the Global Alliance to End AIDS in Children by 2027. How is this possible, Doc?
No, it's possible, and the story, I think, needs to start from what we've talked about before, mobilizing communities and letting communities lead. We need to make sure that our community health promoters in particular know about this, and that they're very well engaged. They can go to the villages and encourage mothers who are pregnant to go to the clinic and get tested. And I think it's something that can be done. Of course, we have to do a lot of work to make sure that we, eliminate teenage pregnancy, because I think that's where the real elephant in the room is, and do a lot of work to make sure that violence against women is eliminated. I think if we do that and do it particularly making communities at the center, we should be able to do this. We've already come from far. We only have a little to go. Yes.
Tiny little bit, yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
All right, so Mr. Inonda tells me we are running out of time, so I'll take you through this last slide very fast before I get their closing remarks. Let's talk treatment, because in my research I came across this article on PrEP, that is pre-exposure prophylaxis. Now, it read preventative HIV drug highly effective. That's according to a study by the UK Health Security Agency, which says that it stops HIV from infecting the body and reduces the chances of getting HIV by around 86% when used in everyday life. And I think we did say that, right, before we came to this slide on PrEP. So I want to get your closing remarks, and I want to start with you, Gladys. What do you tell the youth?
Maybe I can start by thanking you for having us, and especially me. I would also want to encourage our young people across the country to stand up and fight this, to stand up and come up with strategies that are meant to come up with a country that is free from HIV and AIDS. Yes.
Right. Doc, your closing remarks?
Yes, we've come from far. We still have a lot to do, but it's encouraging, and particularly hearing stories of change, positive change, encouraging stories. I think these are stories that need to be told over and over again. In the early parts of fighting against HIV, the media was very engaged. We had posters everywhere, we had billboards everywhere, communities were mobilized. I think over time we lost that, and there's a generation that probably has been brought up that does not really engage and understand HIV very well. So I applaud you and TV 47 to tell these stories, and let's just keep telling these stories.
Most definitely.
Yes.
Bayo, your closing remarks?
I just want to tell people to accept to learn this thing of HIV, and also they should take care of themselves. They should know about PrEP and PEPs, yeah, we must end this stigma.
And it's possible to continue leading a healthy life and a long life while at it.
Yeah.
Bena, you get the last say.
Yeah, thank you for giving us an opportunity to tell the world our story. And we do this because we love the people who are HIV negative. We don't want you to get infected. And please protect yourself. And to the people who live with HIV, nothing stops you from being who you are supposed to be in life. You can be anything. Bayo here is a businesswoman. I work. We are, is it in quotes, celebs?
No, you're not in quotes.
You know?
Are celebs. You are.
So nothing stops somebody living with HIV from...
It's not the end of life.
Exactly.
And so you just take ARVs faithfully. I normally tell people there is no shortcut. Kama umepatikana you are HIV positive, just take ARVs. No shortcut. For you to live a normal lifestyle and for you to have healthy babies, and just take your ARVs.
Right.
And to the researchers, the doctors here, Thank you so much for giving us ARVs that make us live every day. And may God bless every person who works for HIV people, because those people are angels to us. Yes.
Right. And you know, Veoma Nikumbusha, I'm trying to remember what that is it a squad or what was called? Meza dawa piga tizi.
Kula vizuri.
Ilikuwa
Yes.
Manu unaweza kusaidia? Okay. Tumesahau. Tunakumbuka no. Okay, but meza dawa pig longombas. Yes. Meza dawa, si ndio?
Kula
dawa piga tizi. Kula vizuri utaishi fiti.
Utaishi fiti. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Now remember, HIV and AIDS is not a death sentence. I mean, Bena and Violet here are a living testimony, and we are grateful. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and making the time. Bernard Mololo, Bena Softy, alias Bena Softy, and Violet Mukabana, who are HIV activists, and they tell us we're going to hear wedding bells soon. Mtatualika. Dr. Peter Cherotich, an HIV researcher, former head of National AIDS and STIs Control Program, and in 2018 he led the National Household HIV Survey known as the Kenya Population-Based HIV Impact Assessment, and of course Gladys Njoroge, National Youth League Chairperson, Democratic Congress. Thank you so much, all of you, for making time and for your contribution tonight, right? Thank you for your time, for your company. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your feedback.